Hey everyone, it is day 49 of my 90 days of dating myself challenge, following 90 days of consciously working to overcome old binge eating patterns. So during my 90 days of dating myself, I am also continuing the momentum I built with reducing my binge eating habits. But today, the topic is going to be mostly around my dating myself challenge. And one thing that has come up during this process, I know you guys have heard me talk about it before, is the increasing romantic feelings that have been developing between myself and a woman who I'm getting to know through this process. So we have made the decision to gradually transition into dating or relating to each other more romantically. But I had to give that decision a lot of thought and continue being honest with where I'm at a daily basis, because for a bare minimum of 90 days and like possibly for the rest of my life, just at varying degrees, being a partner and support and loving to myself is going to be the priority. So what I want to share today is the considerations that went into dating somebody else while I was still dating myself. The considerations that went into it and what I am going to, for me, going to need to consider throughout this process. So as you know, she and I kind of dip our toes into this new romantic way of relating to each other, I am not losing my core. So if you are also dating yourself and considering dating someone else, hopefully this will help. These are the things that helps me, right? And these are the things that I am holding myself accountable to practicing at minimum until I reach my 90 days, probably to a certain extent after that as well. Because there isn't like a 90-day cutoff with this thing, right? This is life work. So here are the things that I am taking into consideration. Number one, and I'm going to go through 5 things. Number one, honesty. Self-honesty. Because again, this is, relating to my relationship with myself. When making decisions about doing this, asking myself, am I rationalizing, right? Am I rationalizing? That's a huge piece of honesty. Those check-ins of like, where is the root of this desire coming from? Is this root of desire, because you are genuinely interested and ready to open yourself up to another person, or are you just looking to fill a void, right? Asking, going back to the root. A good kind of check for me on this is like, all right, honestly, girl, is your desire for this other woman, whether it be overall or in like the very moment you're experiencing this, like, is this based on trauma, right? In my case, my trauma was around like abandonment, feeling like I wasn't good enough to be a priority. So is this like girl, is this like attention seeking to fill some unconscious thing? Or is this something that you genuinely want and ready or capable of opening yourself up to, right? So there's that honesty check. And back to that, am I rationalizing question? That can be a difficult question to answer, especially when you're asking yourself, because if you're asking your own brain, it might just rationalize right back at you like, no, you're not rationalizing, right? So that takes things like journaling, meditating, talking about it with people I trust, really to kind of get to the root of it. And the answer is not that black and white. So, but if I at least am honest enough to ask the question of, could this be a rationalization? I have literally never done that before in my life. So the fact that I am asking alone is definitely progress. And I think the next step is being clear on what the answer is. And if it's, I don't know, that's okay. Keep asking, keep searching, and it will become clear. But always asking that, whether if the need is as small as like, oh, I really want a text exchange right now. Or, if the need is as large as, I want to move this from dating to relationship, right? That whole spectrum. Honesty is working with myself to get to the root cause of this. two main questions. Is this a rationalization? Is this coming from a reaction that's based on trauma, right? So that's one consideration. Dating someone else while dating myself is honesty. Okay, the next consideration is am I acting in a way that is consistent with my values? And I wrote intimacy with my values on here because I really need to, I think I had told most of you guys, and I think I showed part of it to you, I made like a little chart on my wall with different values, for different kinds of relationships. I covered friends with benefits, dating, relationships, long-term relationships / marriage, right? Are my actions and desires and expectations like within this dating like concept? Is it consistent with my dating values, right? Am I making a decision? And this was a big thing that I did, before I made the decision to engage in that conversation with her, is like looking at the values, right? Like, am I attracted to this person because what I like about them is consistent with my values of like what I'd want in a partner? Or is it more of a strictly like physical sexual attraction quick fix thing? In this case, things lined up with the values, which is why I decided to move forward. However, as you get to know people more and know how they function in relationships, that can change, right? So this is something, I would say regularly, a couple times a week, like I'm really just going to kind of glance at those like dating values I made for myself, and also my list of personal values that I made in my own life, and ask, is anything going on in this relationship that's messing with either the dating values or the personal values? And if it is, I've got to make some adjustments, whether it's just myself or in the context of that relationship. So that's two, right? So first consideration, honesty with yourself, rationalizations is the root of trauma. Second consideration, dating someone else while dating myself, is, are my values being compromised at all, personal or relationship, right? Okay. Third consideration is, I still gotta prioritize me, right? Like so if I'm now in like a quasi like polyamorous type relationship, because I'm dating myself and someone else, I'm my primary, at least until my end of the 90 days. I'm my primary, which means if I'm like aching to see this woman, but it's Thursday night, and Thursday nights are my ongoing sensory night dates where I like soak myself in a lavender bubble bath and lather myself with coconut oil afterwards while listening to classical music in the background and lighting incense. I am not skipping my self dates, period. At least until the end of the 90 days. And then after it, if I feel that way beyond that, I'm still the priority. I'm still my primary. I feel like I'm getting enough traction where I have enough energy to give to me as my primary and give a little to, this other woman as well. But, and she's totally on the same board with that. So like that's great. With values, it's the same thing, but I got to keep the priority. And I think this can get tough because sometimes we all know what longing and desire is like, right? To see someone else. Sometimes you just want to drop everything and see them, but like that ain't gonna happen. Like we live close to each other. We're gonna have plenty of opportunities to see each other. It's kind of like, it's kind of like this is my dinner and like she's the dessert. That sounded like so dirty. But like basically the comparison that I was trying to make is that like, yeah, or it's kind of like, this is my homework and she is like playing with a friend, which is kind of what it is right now. Anyway, but this first. Prioritizing me is still first. And then the fourth consideration, which is related to prioritizing myself, is my vows. I'm going to reread my vows to myself on a regular basis. Similar to scanning the values. I'm going to say at least twice a week, reread those vows, remind myself of them, and make sure, is anything that I'm doing in the context of this dating relationship compromising these vows? And being honest with it, and then looking on it. So, going back to my vows as well as my values. Then last, but certainly not least, is if I'm confused about something, whether it be a rationalization, like am I rationalizing or not, or anything else, pause to seek guidance. You know, I have a few people in my life who, I think all of which are on these videos, follow these videos, who have been really crucial in being a sounding board for me and being honest with me, you know, about what they see when I reflect my experience with them. So, you know, and even though the only person who entirely understands me and can make the right decisions for me is me, sometimes it does get confusing because our minds just have like so many different moving parts to them. So sometimes it can be helpful to just slow down and be like, you know what? Let me bounce this off somebody else. So I'm going to keep doing that as much as I've been doing that. I also have some books that have been really helpful with this whole process: Mastery of Love, Conscious Uncoupling, The Ethical Slut, which I know people don't like the word slut, but I have to say that book gives some really good examples of how to navigate dating multiple people at once and things like this. And since I have now opened myself to dating somebody besides myself, like, believe it or not, like it does have kind of helpful feedback and guidance, you know, on how to do that, but still be ethical and maintain boundaries and like stick to your core and your values. And that's basically the sum of all of this. Like, I don't want to let any of this, you know, get in the way of me behaving in alignment with my core. And I think that what I mentioned yesterday in the morning activities video, the stuff I'm doing in the morning, like every day, right away in the morning, doing either journaling, meditation, or yoga will also be helpful with that. So hope this piece was helpful for you guys. Hope you enjoyed it, and I look forward to checking in with you all tomorrow for day 50.